Welcome to the Birding for Joy podcast, a show about discovering and exploring all the ways birding and wild birds bring joy into our lives. I'm Candi Lynn Fite, your gracious host and joyful birder. If you're curious about learning more about birding for joy, grab your favorite beverage, settle on your perch, and let's get into today's episode. Birdiful greetings, dear listeners. If you've listened to the show before, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, I am so happy you're here. For today's episode, we are traveling back in time to an episode during last fall migration in September. I wanted to rerun this particular episode for two reasons. One, the message is one I think that many birders can appreciate when setting off for a birding adventure: to expect the unexpected. And two, I am heading to Ireland, and as a procrastinating last-minute packer, well, it saves me a little bit of time. But don't let that be the reason you skip this week's episode. I recently took a road trip, and during the drive, my husband decided to put the Birding for Joy podcast on shuffle. Most of the episodes we listened to made me cringe, as listening to myself is not my favorite pastime. But the episode I'm about to reshare brought tears to my eyes. Leaning into the concept of being okay with plans going awry has been a huge learning lesson for me. For all of the wonderful ways birding has enriched my life, letting go of trying to control everything around me has been rewarding and healing for my mental well-being. So, while I'm off frolicking with the fairies, please enjoy how birding taught me to expect the unexpected.
Today's episode is for me just as much as it is for any of you. It's a reminder that no matter how much we plan or prepare for an event, there are many things that are beyond our control. We have to be flexible and understand that no matter how determined we are to achieve a particular outcome, stuff happens. Weather changes, life turns south, and plans fall apart. What are your thoughts when you hear the phrase, expect the unexpected? Well, if you're anything like me, it doesn't sit well. Actually, if you could see my face right now, it's pinched into a very tight grimace. Because planners don't like the plans to, well, not go as planned. But I'm working on it. Birdwatching helps. Nature schools me in how to go with the flow. And sometimes I even wind up surprised, in a good way. For us birders, I'm sure we can all agree that birds don't appear just because we're there to look at them. And they certainly don't pause and pose for us to take their picture. As a matter of fact, every bird outing I have planned in advance never, ever turns out the way I expected it to turn out. Some were actually downright flops as far as birdwatching goes. In photos, let me be the first to say that I am not by any standards a photographer. Out of the 30 to 50 that I might take trying to capture a particular bird, I may keep one not-so-great picture to share. I'm also one of those people who set their expectations super high, and if and when, the expectations aren't met exactly how I intended, I end up disappointed. But birdwatching is teaching me lessons when it comes to setting expectations. Expect the unexpected. Yep, there's that darn phrase again. But I'm going to add to it. Expect the unexpected, and you won't wind up disappointed. The good thing is, when it comes to the unexpected, that doesn't always mean something negative, such as getting a flat tire on your one and only day of the month that you actually get to go birdwatching. It could be like something that happened to me this past week. A quick prologue to the story. Last Thursday, I had to run to Home Depot to get an aluminum trash can with the lid so that I could keep the raccoons from getting into our horse feed and making a mess. Side note, The night before, I had come face to face with a very young raccoon who happened to be on the inside of the feed bag as I chased off its siblings. I'm not sure who was more frightened, me or the little coon. As I was about to turn into the Home Depot parking lot, there in the open field was a tallish brown and white bird on stilted light yellow legs, bobbing a small head from its stretched neck and a tail that extended way past its wings. The truck behind me did not approve of my brake check and laid on its horn, causing the bird to run, not fly, into the taller grass. I parked my car, grabbed my cell phone, and sprinted out into the meadow. The odd-looking bird just stood there, neck stretched very high, and every few seconds it would take a few steps, bobbing its head and tail. The bird seemed lost and out of sorts. I didn't want to further stress the bird out, so I kept my distance, just watching its mannerisms and noting its coloring, size, and markings. Before it disappeared deeper into the grass, I managed to get a very bad video of the bird walking and 2 blurry photos. My first thought was possibly some kind of wading shorebird, although there isn't a body of water larger than a livestock tank in my area. Upon returning home, I hit the reference books and Google. I continued searching the shorebird idea and found an image on Google that I thought maybe it could be the little curlew. Of course, the chances of that being true was slim to none because I discovered the little curlew is an Asian shorebird, and even if blown way off course during its fall migration, it wouldn't be found in South Central Texas. So I dove deeper into the shorebird idea and found a very interesting research article written by Lehman and Dunn in 1985 that stated a rare sighting of a little curlew had been reported in Southern California. But the bird had actually originally been identified as an upland sandpiper. Now, side by side in the picture, the 2 birds have considerable differences, but in the field, I can see how the misidentification occurred. Once, I looked up the upland sandpiper and discovered their preferred habitats are meadows, fields, pastures, and during migration, they often lay over in agricultural fields and migrate through Texas as they head south to South America. I realized that I had identified the bird. A couple of things bothered me about the sighting, though. First, the upland sandpiper was alone. Not another of its species was in sight. And 2, even after the driver of the truck laid on the horn, the bird didn't fly off. It merely ran several feet and then continued stretching its neck as if it was searching for something, or it was lost. Now, I'm going to admit, I do have a tendency to give human traits to the natural world. What is that called? Anthropomorphism? Anyway, I thought, what if the bird was injured? Why else wouldn't he just fly away? I thought about that little bird all evening. Early the next morning, I packed my binoculars, my scope, and went to see if it was still hanging around. After searching the overgrown pasture with my binoculars, I decided that the upland sandpiper must have started its next leg of its journey south. Disappointed I didn't get a better look at the bird I'd spent so much time researching, I packed up my gear. On my way back to the car, a white-eyed vireo's call from a nearby tree caught my attention. I laughed out loud because I had been trying to spot this bird since April. I glanced over at the line of trees edging the field and noticed movement at the top of one of the trees. "Really?" I said to the taunting bird. It issued another telltale call. "Okay, we're doing this," I said, heading its way. I lost sight of the bird as I stood there in the patchy shade of the tree's canopy. Of course I did. It's a white-eyed vireo, perhaps the most elusive bird on the planet, in my opinion. But I had time to kill, so I thought, why not? I plopped myself down on the crispy, rain-parched grass, held my binoculars ready for action, and glanced up, listening to its taunting call over and over. Maybe the little bird lacked skill in its species' well-known disappearing act, or maybe it was fate, because 10 minutes later, I caught sight of it flitting from branch to branch above my head. With knocks to my eyes, I focused in, and there, through the lenses, I spotted the white-eyed vireo. Its powder gray and yellowish plumage is distinctive, as is the canary yellow mask of feathers around its white eyes. As a very busy bird, it refused to sit still, so it took me several follows to finally see the white wing bars on the little bird. I smiled as I kept my eyes on the bird. I had to really take it all in, really get a good look at it, to finally have the courage to say, I spotted one. You were all the first to hear. I spotted a white-eyed vireo. Now, I set out that particular morning, hoping to find the upland sandpiper, and I allowed myself to feel disappointed when it didn't happen. Nature doesn't have to abide by or follow any plan or timetable but its own. Things may not have worked out the way I wanted them to, but I did experience an unexpected surprise. I spotted a bird I've been trying to see since mid-spring. I guess what I'm trying to say is, as a planner, I need to learn how to be more flexible when situations change. I need to accept that I can't control everything, especially nature. And when out birding, to expect the unexpected. Because sometimes it actually turns out to be a very good thing.
I hope you enjoyed the replay of the episode about expecting the unexpected. I will see you back here next week with another episode. Until then, I wish you well and joyful birding, my friends. If you are enjoying the Birding for Joy podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to the show. Subscribing and tuning in to the episodes lets the algorithm on each platform know the podcast is providing you worthwhile content. It also helps ensure the success of the show. Remember, the absolute best way to support your favorite podcast is by word of mouth. So make sure to share Birding for Joy with others who might enjoy listening. That way we continue to build a joyful birding community. As always, thank you for tuning in and stay chirpy, my friends.